Hey, it's Alex, host of the Doomed Planet podcast, episode 98. Visiting Jimi Hendrix at Greenwood Memorial Park. I wander around a cemetery and express my deep thoughts into a microphone. The second part of this episode is called Hating on Impoverished White People, Mulletsploitation Films of the 90s. I'm going to talk a little bit about American Movie. Remember that? About the two filmmakers in Wisconsin. So hang on, kids. This is going to be a good one. Test. Okay. Hey, it's Alex. Welcome to the Doomed Planet podcast, July 26, 2023. And according to historylink.org, on this day in 1970, Jimi Hendrix played at Six Stadium, his final Seattle show. Carmine Appice also was playing with his band, I think Cat Mother, or was it Cactus? And we did a whole episode about Carmine Appice. That episode of the Doomed Planet podcast was, my God, episode 7, January 31st, 2020, pandemic, sex, drums, and cock rock. Influential rock percussionist Carmine Appice wrote an autobiography called Stick It. It's not about drumming. Wow, it's a beautiful day. A little windy. I wasn't wanting that. I'm at Greenwood Memorial Park. That's in Renton, Washington, a town south of Seattle. There's a Boeing factory there. I think they made the bombers that killed all those civilians in World War II in Germany and Japan. There's a PACCAR truck factory. It's kind of a industrial town. And the Renton Highlands, it's kind of, you have to drive up a hill, and it's in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains. It really is shit. I'm in the cemetery across the street. There's a McDonald's, and it's off of a strip with all the American crap, Safeway, Dairy Queen, that kind of thing. Cars everywhere. You know the routine. First visited Jimmy's grave in 1990. I think I'd been in Seattle only a few days. And back then it was just a stone in the ground with his name on it and a little picture of a right-handed guitar. That stone is now mounted inside a giant shrine that I can see from a distance here. And there's a family there with a baby and a 4-year-old checking it out. Interesting here at Greenwood, there's this whole, it's like an Asian village right next to Jimmy's grave. There's a big pagoda, and then the graves are done in this pagoda, rooftop style. And, it's not poor people buried here, but it's a very prestige place, especially if you're Chinese, to get buried next to Bruce Lee's grave in Lakeview Cemetery back in Seattle on Capitol Hill. This seems like it's a prime spot too. A lot of these graves are newer in this cemetery next to Jimmy's shrine. And of course, Jimmy's brother Leon is still around, still with us today, but he got cut out of the family fortune by his adopted sister. He's very bitter about that, but I think, as I've said before, if you want to inherit some money, probably all you have to do is not be a complete alcoholic junkie fuck up. That's all you have to do. And so I can't really blame the family for cutting Leon loose. Okay, we're approaching this 30-foot shrine with a big guitar sculpture, double-sized bronze guitar in there, and it's surrounded by beautiful purple flowers all the way around. That's incredible. It's a beautiful summer day. Hey, there's rabbits everywhere. I don't know if that noise got picked up, but I just scared some rabbits up and they knocked over an urn. Okay, I've wandered past, hope this wind doesn't fuck me up. Wandered past Jimmy's grave into like this Asian area, maybe a lot of Vietnamese people here, and I love when they leave incense. Here's the grave, Nguyen T. Ken, died in 2018. There's a watermelon there, incense, tons of marigolds, beautiful flowers everywhere. There's a rabbit right next to me. Rabbits have proliferated throughout Seattle. Look, they're not even afraid. You know, those little tiny wild ones. And you know what rabbits love is grass. For some reason, that's their favorite treat. I can tell you that because we don't have a lawn in our backyard. Okay, there's supposed to be like a stream or a moat surrounding the pagoda here. It's been turned off. Last time it was dry. This time there's some muck in there. I see some water striders on the top of the accumulated rainwater. So that's nice, some animal life. Last time I was here, acoustics in the pagoda, whoa. Last time I was here, there was a fresh grave for some guy, and there were so many flowers. There was like a massive stack of, this was an important guy. I mean, thousands of dollars worth of flowers. It's a gated community now. At the top of Asia Town in Greenwood is a gated community. I mean, the gate is not locked. You can go in, but there's a brick wall and 2 gates that are surrounding just 3 gravestones, 2 of which are blank. And one of which, Wong Van Hoy and Yen Sao Mak, it looks like 1/3 of the grave is being left empty for future relatives. There's a gated grave site for just one grave and nice lawn, and the grave is blank. Maybe I should reserve that. My friend Chalos is Aboriginal American, and I'd always be like, let's go to Bruce Lee's grave. It's my favorite place to go, and he's superstitious, but I'm not. Now, what a better way to celebrate life than to go check up on all these people that are mostly forgotten. Okay, I'm wandering too far away from Jimmy's area. I gotta head back. This is supposed to be about Jimi Hendrix. And, you know, his death, somewhat of a mystery. He had drugs and alcohol in his system, and they say that he, choked to death on his own vomit. But, the ambulance drivers didn't know who the fuck he was. Rabbit! And they might have propped him upright in the ambulance, and that probably didn't help him. There's a World War II mausoleum and memorial with a POW flag and American flag in the distance there, and with a gun mounted on top. So yeah, you know what I want to be reminded of during this time of like peace and solitude in this beautiful day in this beautiful cemetery is like a fucking giant gun. Yeah, fuck you.
And now a word from our sponsor.
The future waits for no one, so we refuse to wait for it. We're not just pilots and engineers. We are pioneers. Today, battles are waged in nanoseconds, and planes are piloted from the other side of the world. We turn night into day and fly missions in space. The future's not coming. It's already here. This is the future. Join us and be the future.
Got a beautiful pond here with fish sculptures. Ah, damn wind. The pond is empty. It's not functional. If I had a relative here, I'd be wanting them to fill that up with fucking water. All right, now we're going to someone who is recently deceased. There's this canopy on wheels that they use probably when they're digging to shelter from the weather, when they're digging graves and stuff, over this grave for Fu Yi Si, who died 2009. Wow, and there's a shitload of flowers on here. There's even little cards. Everyone's leaving their business card. Colors a bloom. Floral design, right. For Young Si's service. Wednesday, July 26th. Wait. Okay. Fu Yi Si died in 2009. This must be his spouse, Young H.C. Welcome. We are honored by your visit. This memorial has been erected in the loving memory of Jimi Hendrix for friends and fans to come reflect. We respectfully ask that you help us pay tribute to Jimi by leaving the memorial tidy and litter-free for others to enjoy. Thank you for your kind consideration. Stay experienced, the Jimi Hendrix family. And then there's a sign below that, warning, 24-hour video surveillance. I'm not seeing surveillance cameras anywhere around here unless there's one mounted inside the Jimi Memorial. There's an ashtray here. That's kind of ugly. So you get up to... Ow. There's an ashtray full of cigarettes as you go up this wheelchair ramp. And then there's a few stray cigarettes. And not many tributes here today to Jimi. Oh, there's beer money here. There's 5 quarters, 20 or so pennies, a few flowers, a couple keychains. And I love this little moon snail on the guitar. It's a stainless steel, I guess, guitar sculpture. There's a bracelet that says lover in like little charm bracelet beads. The guitar sculpture is cool because people have stuck guitar picks into the string area, and they've even melted guitar picks into there to make them stick. Then you have some tacky wind. Thanks, Jimi. Thanks for that wind, Jimi. The art on the walls is tacky, kind of fancy cursive writing, and I do love that this one portrait of Jimi said, "Message to love, everybody come alive, everybody hear my message, butterflies and zebras, little wing." The picture of Jimi, everyone has kissed it and left their lipstick marks. Or actually on all 3 of these pictures. So that's a nice... but embedded into below the base of the guitar is Jimi's original stone with that right-handed guitar. Jimi was left-handed. Forever in our hearts, James M. Jimi Hendrix, 1942 to 1970. That show he played in Seattle, his last performance in Seattle, that was at Six Stadium, like a rundown baseball stadium that is now a Lowe's. They actually have a shit-ass tiny trophy case in the lobby as you go in at Lowe's, memorializing the stadium. But he died, was it a couple months after that? 4 months after that. So, boy, to be a kid in Seattle in 1970 going to that show, that would have been wild. I got half hour till I have to get my kid from Mathnasium. In a better world, they would teach kids math for free so everyone could do it, but that's unfortunately not the world we live in. This guy has a big color photo of this guy making gang signs. He's got a bandana. Happy heavenly 22nd birthday, Danielle. We got flowers here. It's weird because there's no gravestone for this guy. Is this like a pop-up grave? There's pretty recent flowers. There's a bunch of bottles of Pacifico. There's actually a mostly full but opened 40-ouncer of Old English 800. And there's a plastic toy car. So I don't ever want to see someone that young die. You know, even if they're getting in trouble, which might have been the case. All signs point to that with that guy, but who knows? All right, here we see some, well-dressed white people. They're walking right to Jimmy's grave. So they should be selling, well, you can go to McDonald's. Maybe they get extra business. I love the incense. Nien Tian. Symmetrical vases of flowers, incense, and two cans of Coke Zero on her grave. I love tributes like that. Okay, here we're in the Garden of Harmony. It would be nice if people put potted flowers here. I get that you put dead flowers on graves, but what if people brought flowers that actually would continue to grow? Wouldn't that be cool? Matthew Long Saylor, there's a picture of him. It's sad. 2003 to 2022. He liked bowling, apparently. There's a graphic of bowling on his stone. I came up here to do a Jimmy little rant a while ago, but I didn't have my microphone, so I scrapped it. I took a whole bunch of pictures and thought I'll just narrate while looking at the pictures, but this seems more spontaneous. Wow, so long ago that I first came here. I'm surprised that I'm still alive. And we show up. There's no way, no one knows how to find this. There's no internet or anything. So we go in and there's this ancient lady at the desk and like, yeah, we're looking for Jimi Hendrix's grave. And she stopped for a moment like, huh? And then she's like, oh yeah, the singer. Yeah, he's an interesting singer. I mean, obviously his main talent was being one of the greatest guitar players ever. Totally original style, technique. He used he was not afraid to use effects pedals or mess with his amps or do feedback, get radio signals from the local Air Force base and pipe that in and play along with it. So really, Seattle's greatest musician, the greatest musician Seattle has ever produced, and I think he wanted to get away from that rock and roll Carmine a piece bullshit. Helicopter, that hurts my podcast, bro. I think he wanted to get away from the and move in a different direction, more jazz, more blues, get away from the rock, but alas, he died. And now people like me get to wander around in a graveyard holding a microphone, looking crazy. I'm going back to my gas-guzzling hybrid vehicle now. And then I'm going to be driving, destroying the atmosphere in this car all the way back to Seattle. Goodbye.
The name of the film is Coven.
Coven.
Coven, that's the proper pronunciation.
No, coven sounds like oven, man, and it doesn't work.
Within weeks, the film will be cut, finished for multiple sales. What do you think about that?
Multiple sales to who?
Would you buy this movie for $14.95?
Hell yeah, man.
If I could find 3,000 people like you across this country, man, I'm in business.
Yikes, that was the extended trailer for American Movie, a documentary from 1999, directed by Chris Smith. Follows the adventures of Mark Borchardt and his buddy Mike Shank. Mark is making a movie called Coven. It's a low-budget horror movie, and some city slicker documentary filmmakers tagged along and made a quite impressive movie. When I talk about Mulletsploitation, and of course this was a trend in the 90s, what I mean is kind of gently mocking low-income white people, and that's a thing. I mean, even if you look at mainstream Hollywood, there's an entire comedy movie called Joe Dirt, starring David Spade from Saturday Night Live. It's the same genre, but it was big in documentaries for a while. I usually have some connection to all these podcast topics. This one would be the Sony Pictures Classics sent Mark and Mike on a tour to promote the film, and I was working at this shit marketing advertising agency that promoted movies at the time, and they came by the office. Unfortunately, I was not there that day, so sorry I missed meeting them, but glad I had one less day at that shit-eating office. Mark has had some kind of career, playing himself in the media, or he was on Family Guy with Mike Shank, and he's more of an actor. His directing career never took off, but he's in a bunch of low-budget, weird movies. The Hagstone Demon, Zombie Island, Guy Drunk at the Bar, The Godfather of Green Bay. He plays Skeeter, so good for him. And Mike, unfortunately, just died October 2022. He was a self-admitted, big substance abuser and drug addict by the time American Movie came out. He was in recovery, and, he had some horrible cancer at the end. And, was that because he abused his body 25 years earlier? Maybe, maybe not, roll of the dice. So it's an enjoyable movie, but there's this element, Chris Smith, to make a good documentary, you're going to embed yourself with your subjects and gain their trust by coming back day after day after day. But, everyone knows that he's going to leave one day, and then these guys are going to be stuck in Wisconsin, and that's what happened. So, I don't know. And that brings us to... Okay, so if you want real Mulletsploitation, let's talk about Jesco White, the dancing outlaw. And JescoWhiteNation.com, you can go buy t-shirts from him, or go to his YouTube page where has some grotesque videos where he's filming what looks like toothless homeless people in parking lots and Confederate flag imagery. But this was a hillbilly who had a little documentary clip, homemade film made of him called The Dancing Outlaw. And yeah, he's from West Virginia, and he fits all of the stereotypes amazingly. And so back before internet and YouTube and stuff, VHS tapes would circulate, especially cult weird tapes. And this became hugely popular, so much so that Jesco was invited to appear on the Roseanne show, so they could mock him and his mullet-like beliefs. And he had a swastika tattoo, and then when Roseanne found out she's Jewish, she paid him to have it removed. Tom Arnold was all, yeah, Jesco, you do the right thing, get the fucking swastika removed. And again, in our culture, you can't really get away with mocking people of color in the same way. And Yeah, maybe that's because of the 500 years of slavery, but it's also because our capitalist system is just sick and it pits people against each other. And of course, it's a crime to be poor, mocking impoverished white people. I mean, I confess I kind of hate the South and have done my share of mocking of hillbillies. I grew up in Appalachia, so I don't know. This was a trend, though, in the 90s with Jesco appearing on Roseanne.
Well, my name is Jesco White. My real name is Jessica White, and I'm from Boone County.
I think Roseanne was a little bit lit up when she saw the swastikas on his arms, but, you know, what the heck.
Good old Jesco, still in West Virginia, still with us. He has a website full of racist imagery and weird videos. Going back further in our Mulletsploitation journey, Heavy Metal Parking Lot, documentary 17 minutes long from 1986. This, like the Jesco tape, this was, you know, a VHS tape circulating among hipsters who wanted weird videos. And these two guys who borrowed equipment from a public access TV station went to the parking lot of a Judas Priest concert in Maryland, Landover, Maryland. Judas Priest and Dokken. Wow, Judas Priest was at their peak in 1986. That would have been fun. You can hear the music in the background, too, when they're playing. And so it's people partying in the parking lot. And again, it's all poor white people. And there's some mockery or irony. I mean, it's not a mean-spirited film at all, but when you just look back at it, well, of course, it's the genre of mocking poor whites. There's a famous line where they ask this girl, you know, what do you think of Rob Halford? And she's like something to the effect of, oh, he's sexy. I want to jump his bones. And of course, the irony is that hipsters watching the movie, you know, decades later would be like, yeah, but he's gay. Oh, what a stupid white woman to not know that. I don't know. Am I going too far here?
Joints across America.
Yeah, exactly, man. They should make the joint so big it fits across America. Everybody's smoking. I'm gonna get in line for that.
There's a follow-up called Heavy Metal Parking Lot, Where Are They Now?, where they dig up some of these people that were in the original film, and it's as you'd expect. I mean, it's just there's a lot of yearning for the good old days of the 80s. Try going to one of these throwback bands shows today, and you'll see, yeah, everyone is like a 60-year-old person wishing it was still the 80s. It's sort of sad, but hey, man, not everyone can be fabulous. And if I may repeat myself for the millionth time, heavy metal music, Judas Priest and stuff like that, that's a lower income white people thing. I mean, duh. Now we're going back to the origin of American movie film called Demon Lover Diary. 1977, Joel DeMott and her boyfriend Jeff Krennis went from Cambridge to suburban Michigan to do cinematography for this guy's movie Demon Lover, which eventually did come out. And this guy purposefully cut off one of his fingers at his job at a steel mill or something so he could get insurance money to make this movie. And there's a harrowing scene at the end where they have a falling out and a gun is brought out and there's a gunshot into the air. But this is taught in every film school in the United States. That's how I know that the guys or the people from American Movie absolutely used this as a reference. I mean, it's striking similarity. Fancy pants, you know, well-educated filmmakers go hang out with like some bohunks in Michigan to document their making of a low-budget horror film. I mean, it's the same thing. Later, DeMott and Krennis did another groundbreaking documentary called 17. This is incredible. They embedded themselves with some high school kids in Muncie, Indiana for, 18 months and made a documentary about what it's like to be, a teenager. Lo and behold, it was slated to air on PBS, but for many reasons, it got yanked at the last minute. I remember one scene where there's a black guy and a white girl smoking marijuana in someone's kitchen and then making out. So you can imagine the powers that be at PBS were not ready for that. I'm cribbing from an article by Rob Nelson in Film Comment, December 2008, by the way. According to Nelson, Dave Carr saw an emotional counterpoint to Frederick Wiseman's institutionalism in the movie 17. And Frederick Wiseman, of course, one of the greats, directed a film called High School, which I just love, where he, hung out at a rough and tumble high school on Long Island, New York. And, you could almost title that film, This High School is Actually a Prison, full of authoritarian assholes and bullying students. So you can understand why I love that film so much. 17, filled with beer, pot smoke, feathered hair, wood paneling, and classic rock. As Caitlin Johnstone would say, so much of our popular culture, or, culture that is manufactured by corporate entities, is just capitalist poison. So it's interesting to think about how these, unknown but influential films, studied by, affluent film students in the finest film schools, are sort of part of that same genre, you could say. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening. And go visit Jimi Hendrix's grave. This beautiful place. Goodbye.
5, 6, 7, 8.
The Demon Lover. More terrifying than the Night of the Living Dead, and more shocking than the Chainsaw Massacre. The Demon Lover is a motion picture that defies the imagination, and it is the most gruesome of the horror films of the past decade.
How do we explain to the press? 2 girls have been ripped apart as though they were attacked by wild animals.
The Demon Lover is a horror film beyond belief, even to the devil himself. It is the shocker of a lifetime.